Yes! Whenever you can do a cross section, I love it. Ripping the rib cage open, which we do in medicine. I've done it before. It's not this way, it's this way. And then they put you back by using chicken wire. Like, no joke. What? Her face is facing us. It's kind of disturbing, actually. Hey everyone, Dr. Jordan Wagner here, board certified emergency medicine physician out in the Los Angeles area. Today on Experts Reacts Gameology, we're gonna check out the anatomy of the Mortal Kombat 11 fatalities. And I'm sorry, Devorah, you took a beating, my dear. Let's check it out. Nice. I love this. All right, there's not that many vital structures in this area. You're gonna hit lung, break some bones, so usually it's okay. Again, I'm a huge anatomy buff, right? This is what I do for a living. And so seeing the skull break open, perfectly symmetric, which typically doesn't happen very often. You can see the cerebellum, the cerebrum, the midbrain. Really cool and obviously grotesque and bloody. That's awesome. Oh. Awesome. Can you actually kick somebody's heart out of their chest? Highly unlikely to non-existent. You're protected by your sternum, your rib cage, and you got the spine on the backside with all those bones. You got the lungs surrounding it, so it's very centralized and structured to be protected. What's super cool is seeing the heart fly, and you can see the blood vessels on the outside. You have the coronary blood vessels, and you see the major branches of the aorta, the pulmonary artery, and the pulmonary veins coming off too. They actually did a really good job with the anatomy on that one too. Oh, nice. Oh, this is not good. Okay. So first of all, I gotta ask, Devorah is wearing, it looks like a nurse's outfit. Hopefully they put that outfit on for me so I can get more entertained here. You're just seeing things flying everywhere, a ton of blood everywhere. Our bodies have almost 5 liters of blood in there. Have you ever seen 5 liters of blood spilt out? It's a lot. So that could be pretty realistic if it's all the blood in our body just gone. Trauma straight down to the head, you're gonna have a cervical spine fracture. It can actually even go all the way down. So if you have trauma to the top of your head and the compressive force go down, you can have compression fractures at any level in the spinal column. Oh. That's disgusting. Oh, nasty. What? Super cool. That is awesome. It's Devorah versus Devorah, the final showdown. No, I'm just kidding. Forced ingestion and then turns into another creature that just comes out and destroys. I remember this kind of like through the movie Alien, where the alien just pops out of the body where it just destroys it. So you're getting puncture wounds to the top, above the clavicle. So I talked about below the clavicle. So if you can actually get above, down below, you're gonna puncture the lung, you're gonna cause hemothorax, pneumothorax, collapsed lungs, and you're also potentially gonna get those blood vessels. Uh-oh, don't fall in it. Nice. Okay, stepping on someone's head probably takes a little bit more force in general to make it kind of crack and break, but it could happen. It doesn't typically fly open like that. The amount of blood coming out of the head, typically it's actually more condensed. It's not gonna be that liquidy, so to speak. You're gonna have more brain matter flying everywhere. We will be attached basically by our skin and our connective tissue, so it actually just kind of flops off on the side versus kind of flying out. Awesome. Super cool. I love it. That's like one of my favorites. If you ever get frostbite or a frozen limb, you're decreasing blood supply to the tissue. If you try to rub it or move the tissue too much, you can actually cause damage. That's to an extent. So if you ever have that happen, as an aside, slow rewarming in like water. You have your brain, your midbrain, the pons, and then the medulla oblongata, and then goes straight down into the spinal cord. Anatomy looked really awesome, and I love the extra where it actually gets reused into this robotic structure. It's pretty cool. I liked it. That was really good anatomy. Ooh. Oh, nice. This is a very unique way of using intestines. That is impressive. Holy cow. The intestines, they are basically made up of muscle, so they are having some elasticity, but not like that, in the sense that made up of blood vessels and nerves, that way it actually gives nutrients. So when it actually comes out of our body, it doesn't come just like a long links of sausage, so to speak. It's all together in one big bunch. In a really disgusting way, sorry for vegetarians out there, there are like hot dog casings and different things that actually use intestines to store meat, and we eat it. So it does have the elasticity component to it. Sorry for the grossness, but it's reality. Oh! Oh! Compressive force right to the back of the skull. Okay, so the brain is not going to just fly out, right? Because it's still attached to the spinal cord. But look at the anatomy of the brain. I'm like mesmerized by this because you're having all the gyrates, totally appropriate. You have the parietal lobes that you're seeing, but then you have the temporal lobes that are, you can see the horns of the brain, which is quite accurate. And then obviously look at the face coming off. We're missing the mandible, it's still attached. The amount of blood coming out is pretty accurate of what the trauma is occurring here. Ooh, what are those? That sucks. Nice fatality, just like done. You have no chance. The amount of blood flying out of the brain, not that much. Probably more blood coming from the neck flying out because you're directly pumping from the heart all the way out of here. But dunzo, it's awesome. This is cool. I like creativity of how to actually kill somebody in Mortal Kombat. Done. Nice. Amputations galore. Yes. Your arms and the legs are very similar in structure. You have the bone, skin, soft tissue, and all your vessels to actually go through. So you're going to be spraying blood. Remember that old school movie Kill Bill where they cut the limbs and things are like spraying? So it's not to that extent, but you're going to have arterial bleeding because the heart is still pumping. But the best part about this fatality is after the decapitation, taking the weapon straight through the mouth and out the back of the skull and just adding insult to injury. It's awesome, and you can just see the face is just like frozen in time. Sadly, we don't die with our eyes closed usually because the muscles relax and everything kind of stays open, which is kind of what we see here in this fatality. Awesome. Nice. I love the intestines. As I said, the intestines are attached a little bit differently. They're not just free-flowing tubes in our body. They're all connected. I would love to actually see in the future, like, if they put a video game where not just blood happens, but like the other grotesque inner workings of our body, like our normal liquids that are in there, as well as like the fecal matter. But I loved it. Whoa! Come on. It's like a... He is now a ventriloquist. Okay, come on, that's pretty funny. But you're seeing like a rain of blood coming out of the bottom. You probably only have two major areas that are going to be like pouring out of blood. Abdominal aorta is your major artery going down to the lower extremities, and then you're having your inferior vena cava, which is your major vein coming back, bringing all those blood. So one's under high pressure, one's under low pressure, but you're just going to have like a floodgate of blood, kind of more centrally located versus like a regular waterfall of blood coming out at you. She's still in her nursing outfit. Oh, man. Awesome. I think the split in half ones are my favorite. So for the explosions, you're actually not going to have like the shrapnel that's going to get you, but you're actually going to have like the forces of the shock wave that's going to cause a lot of trauma too. You get barotrauma to your ears, you can rupture your eardrums, and then also trauma to the inner organs. The best part, my favorite, is the end when the sign just splits the body in half. Because not only does it split the brain in half, it splits the spinal cord in half. It is actually made of fibers. So if you like do a transection, it literally looks like that, where there's like lines of fibers and they come out because it goes all the way down to the bottom of your lower spine and your lumbar area. It actually becomes like hair fibers, and it's actually called the cauda equina. Weirdly, it looks like string cheese. Sorry if anybody's eating while watching this. Whoa. Ow. Yes. Whenever you can do a cross section, I love it. You're just getting dragged along the ground. I see this a lot with motorcycle accidents where people are not wearing the normal protective garb. You rip through jeans, it only lasts like a couple feet, and then you're just skin, your muscle, the fat is all just burning away, just like this depiction. And the only way to fix this stuff is like skin transplants, fat transplants. Muscles pretty much are shot at that point. You're gonna have a defect, and then hopefully the bone isn't so destroyed that it actually still holds structure. Oh. Oh, I love it. Oh, this is even worse. Okay, the doctor is laughing at death. Yes, stab wound right to the left side of the neck, which we all know now by all the videos you've seen I've done in zone 2, which is where all your major vessels are, your carotid artery and jugular vein. Every time your heart pumps, the blood's gonna pump right out. And I love the fact that the creators of this have the blood coming out of the bottle itself versus out the side. And they did a really good job of it, how it's flowing, where it's actually pulsatile versus just like a continuous spray. And then add insult to injury, like dancing with her before she actually dies. It's kind of messed up and mean, but a good little twist, whoever came up with that. Nice. Multiple pieces. All right, let's dissect this a little bit. You're gonna have a lot of bleeding through your midsection, probably more blood through your midsection than actually up at the top of the head. If the blade is sharp enough force, you can go through the front. The front is probably more thick than any other spot. You're not gonna have that much blood coming out from that injury just because the major vessels that are in the middle are veins versus arteries. So the veins are kind of just like ooze out. Oh. Goodbye, tissue. Can you actually grab skin and rip it off? No, but like animals do, or somebody, if you have like nails and the strength to be able to do it. But so much tissue was gone, you actually get to see into the ribs. Some of the ribs were even missing, so you're seeing the lungs there and the other overlaying structures of the abdomen. And then, of course, pulling off someone's head. Oh. Cool. Awesome. Does the heart actually like appear to be rubbery? Typically not. The heart is a muscle. And sadly, I've had many hearts in my hands to do like what's called cardiac massage, where you actually hold somebody's heart. But at that point, they're kind of just like soft muscle, but it's not rubbery. So the depiction of that is not like with a squeaky toy, so to speak. It's literally just muscle that could grow in density if you work it out too much, so to speak, if you're causing too much demand on your heart, or it could be really small if it's not functioning the way that it should. What a creative way, I love it. One of my favorites. If you have like a perfect cut where you can actually see the vessels and the nerves, you do have a fighting chance of reattaching these things. But if it's like destroyed, there is no chance. And then of course, my favorite is the end where the body just gets split in half and you still see arms on each side flying around, blood flying, and then almost with this amount of force, like almost spraying. Okay, this is like a really intense one. The brain going into pieces, but I love the structure of the thorax, of the chest cavity, where you're seeing pieces of the sternum and you can see pieces of the ribs flying. I really wish you could see like the lungs, like if the lungs were flying out, or other organs. Like they typically stick with the brain or the spinal cord, but I really want to see Mortal Kombat, the next game, if they can, get some organs flying around a little bit more, make it even more realistic, and even have them bleeding, that sort of stuff. Oh, that's gotta hurt. Awesome, awesome. Look at this stuff flying at us. The best part about it is really at the end. Even though the intestines, as we discussed, are more attached, you're seeing these intestine strings basically flying around there, and there's like different colors of them. So actually, typically, it's more smooth in color in a human. On the inside, it's much different. There's different places for absorption and different folds, but on the outside, it's much smoother. But I love that, and the blood just flying everywhere from the force that happens. Don't mess with that one. Oop. Whoa. Ow! Nice, wasn't expecting that. The head just getting torqued. And the skin is elastic enough to be able to stretch there, but there's so much elasticity it actually should come back, at least most of the way. One I was expecting like crack over the knee, spinal injury, but no, a bear comes out and just destroys the body in half. And look at all that blood that's flying around. The body's just like in space, going slow motion, and then the lower extremities are just going away. Oh, yes. Oh. Awesome. Whoever helped create the Mortal Kombat game loves intestines because they're everywhere. They're flying around everywhere, and I love it. It's a cool depiction. If you look close, you can actually see the spinal column and basically all the muscles. But at the bottom, you can actually see the sacrum kind of doing the appropriate anatomical position where it's going around the rectum down into the pelvic area. So super cool. And the structure of the bones of the vertebrae are like spot on point. So they did a really good job. Oh, what the? Raiden, who doesn't like Raiden? Okay, the biggest thing that we deal with when somebody gets a lightning strike is cardiac arrest. So you can actually stop your heart. The way to fix it is you add more electricity. So you're actually using more paddles to shock the person. It works much better than regular CPR. I would have loved to see like burnt tissue where it almost like cauterizes itself because of the amount of electricity or energy that's being used to cause this injury. Yes! I love when the eyes just disappear. I love it. Of course! This is messed up, but really cool. Now, eyes don't easily come flying out of somebody's skull because there's 6 muscle attachments, plus you're having the optic nerve that attaches to it as well. So it's really hard to have the eye do different like outer movements. But the anatomy of the eyes is awesome. They almost look like weird like sea creatures, but that's what our eyes look like. It's the globe plus multiple muscles and structures. There's top and bottom, left and right on the sides, but then there's on different angles, so that way our eyes can actually move in all different planes and have like more of a rotary ability to move versus just up, down, left and right. Really, really impressive. Oh, yes. Nice work, Rambo. Boom. A knife right into the jaw. It's soft, right? So you can actually puncture pretty easily. You have to get through some bone through the base of the skull to be able to get up and then just pull through. It's super sharp, and it's got to be really strong to be able to cut through bone with one movement. But again, you're looking at the awesome anatomy of the brain, which just makes it even that much more, sadly, fun to watch. What? Come on. Her face is facing us. It's kind of disturbing, actually. These limbs are severed so perfectly. In explosion, right, it's going to be more tearing and ripping. So you're going to have more jagged edges and more muscle flopping out, that sort of stuff. I want to see, come on, give me some lungs, give me some other organs in there. I want to see a bladder, right? Nobody looks to think to have a bladder around. Oh. Awesome. So burn injuries are no joke. Painful. If you're having 1st degree, 2nd degree burns, very painful. 3rd degree burns actually aren't painful, and that's a problem because you just burned all the nerves. This would be considered like 4+. All the tissue is gone except for the vertebrae, which are still chilling, which are protecting the spinal cord. So there's still some structure so she doesn't fall right over. And the look on the face of just like, oh no, I'm done. I think she was done way before this. What? Oh. Awesome. Could you actually grab somebody's arms and rip them off? Your tissue around the joint is going to keep everything intact. It's going to be really, really hard to rip that off per se, unless it's like stuck in a major like machine that's just like ripping and pulling and you can't get out. But Another person could cause a fracture or a dislocation of the joint, which happens a lot. Ripping the rib cage open, which we do in medicine, I've done it before, where it's not this way, it's this way. And then they put you back by using chicken wire. Like, no joke. When we look at it on an x-ray, it's literally like, it looks like a fence is just closed up on your chest. If you're in this position, you have very minimal chance of survival, but it's something that we can do to do heroic measures in an attempt to save someone's life. But you can really only have this done at a trauma center because you need a trauma surgeon. Ooh. Oh, nice. Okay, look at this anatomy. Look at the vertebrae itself. You have the spinous processes, the transverse processes. The anatomy looks fantastic. They did a really, really good job. I like how they depicted what the spinal cord looks like here and the spinal canal, as well as the vertebrae around it. Oh, gosh. Whoa. You got intestines flying in the background. But her head is attached on one side to the right chest cavity. But they actually see the left side, and you can actually see the lung tissue flying out within the cavity itself. So the axilla, aka your armpit, has all the major nerves and blood vessels right in your armpit is where everything occurs. So, sometimes you gotta really be careful of like sleeping on a bench or having something on your armpit. You can actually get a palsy of your muscles of your arm, paralyzation temporarily of the arm itself, and mess up your nerves if you actually lay on it too long. So interesting how our bodies are made, different spots are like hidden inside to protect us from actually causing harm, even though we're so complex, the amount of structures that we have in our body, it's amazing. Oh. What? Crazy. Wind or fire or something super crazy cold could cause like skin to kind of peel off a little bit, not as fast as this moment, but I like the shedding of the layers of skin, how it's occurring. You can see organs, you can see the intestines, and then further down you can see the vertebrae of like the lower thoracics, the lumbar is down there. Great anatomy and this destruction of the body. I love it. Oh. Come on. Getting killed by your own blood. That's an eyeball. Typically, the muscles will shrink up when they're not attached versus where they are here, where they're actually elongated because the muscles are typically under tension, so they want to shrink. Now, the likelihood they're just going to go outside the back of the skull through all that brain tissue is highly unlikely. Probably be more stuck into the brain, but actually it'll be enucleated where there's no fluid in the eye, so the structure of the eye is gone.
Sonya Blade calling in air support.
Oh! I was waiting for it. There's a lot of blood just splattered everywhere, which could happen. I'd rather have that like move away and let's see like the organs flying around and like bones and a little bit more of that stuff. Would have been a lot cooler. Nice. We got Spawn using his chains that what he's known for, everybody knows that. Oh, I do think it's messed up that he was able to sneak his cape around, wrap it around their head, and pull her up into the air. Minimal amount of bone sticking out. You should see a little bit more bone sticking out. The blood's kind of flying everywhere, which is fine. Where's the lungs? Where's the rib cage? Where's the pelvis? We actually never see, we see the legs go away, but we actually never see the structure of the pelvis in any of these. Oh, nice. Oh. Awesome. The amount of blood in there, a little excessive, but I love the fact that you're seeing like partial tongue, you're seeing the lip still there, and you're just seeing little bone fragments kind of flying with pieces of brain. So there's just chunks of brain just like randomly throughout. Again, you're never gonna be able to put that back together. Seeing organs, I love it. Thank you, Terminator, giving us some organs. Look at her head. You can see the vertebrae are still attached. You're missing some of the spinal cord itself. That would have been sick to have sticking out the bottom, like that string cheese I was talking about. But you're seeing some organs flying around, and the body's just totally dismembered everywhere. Look at the hand, just like chilling. I'm dead. Mortal Kombat 11, brutal. I loved it. The anatomy was fantastic. Thank you, Frost, for the coolest kill, and Devora for taking all those beatings. If you want to see more videos like this one, check out Experts React Gameology on Facebook and YouTube, and check out my channel, Dr. ER. We do have to have a moment for Devora. She took it like a champ. Oh, you can't really say that. It sounds weird. Can't really say that. Can't really. Yeah, I can't say that. I mean, it sounded cool, but like people could take it the wrong way.
Oh yeah.